Okay, so if you're gonna make your RJ45 or Ethernet cable, whatever you call it, I think these are the two main types of cable that you will need to make. Um, Depending on what type of device you're connecting to, determines what kind of cable you'll be making. So here's the two very common um, scenarios that you have. Probably at home or in the office, you have a PC to PC connection. In that case, you would use a crossover cable. And if you have a PC to a router, you'll be using a straight through cable. And then you also have some other devices. You can probably look that up online to see what type of cable you need. Or you can probably pick up a network book that tells you what type of cable you need for uh, for the different types of connection and using different types of devices. You can also pick up a CCNA certification book. I think that's probably the best because it covers a lot of the devices and the type of cable it uses. So in this case, I think for most people, this is the case that you have PC to router. So I'm going to use a straight through cable to demonstrate how you build one. So let's go to the next diagram. Okay, in this image here, you can see that you have the straight through cable and the crossover cable. So what is a straight through cable? Well, what they're saying is that each of the ports are connected directly. So if you take a look at this and this RJ45 and this RJ45 cable, you could tell that from left to right, all the cable matches with the orange stripe to the brown. And if you look at the crossover cable, it from left to right, it is not exactly the same. That's because you have some that are some of the connections. I think you call it port um, or input or output that are crossed. So as you can see, the orange stripe and is here instead of the at the very first one, and the green is at the first one here instead of the third one here. So today we're gonna focus mainly on this straight through cable. So I guess we're ready to start. Okay, so making an RJ45 cable, Ethernet cable, or a Cat5 cable. I think maybe the more correct term would be the RJ45 cable or Ethernet cable. We're probably not going to be making one that looks this nice because this one comes with a boot. You can buy these, but they're fairly expensive in my opinion. I don't think it needs to look this nice because it's the connection's always in the back of your computer and router, and you won't see it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it would be nice to have a boot like this for the RJ45 connector. So to make these cable, you will need a few items. First, of course, you're gonna have to buy the I'm sorry, not RJ, the Cat5 cable, or maybe nowadays is considered Cat6. I read that they don't sell Cat5 cables anymore. Most of the ones that sell are Cat6. I think the difference is the speed at which the data can travel through the cables. I'm not really sure. I think that's what I read days ago. So you will need one of these a roll of these cable. The advantage of making your own RJ45 cable is that you can customize the length that you want, cut it to the length that you want, and also the convenience of building one once yours is damaged or something. So you're working late night, and if so happens someone kicks it and it gets damaged, you can't buy at the store. You can make one fairly quickly. So you would need first thing is the cable itself, And then the next item that you would need is the RJ45 connectors. You would need two of them, one in each end. And then finally you need the RJ45 crimping tools. And this one that I got is fairly cheap. It comes with the cable cutters, wire cutters. And I use this to strip it as well, but some of you might use some other stripping tools, but it's fairly simple. So let's go ahead and make our straight through cable. So the first thing you want to do is strip up enough of this cable so that you can fit it all the way in here. You want to do it a little bit longer here so that you can always cut it off later. And you want some of this plastic to be inside this connector. So you can always cut it later, so don't worry about it. Just cut around maybe about the same length as this. So what I'll do is I'll use this tool to strip. I don't know if there's any other ones that you can use. This one comes with a notch here where you can stick the cable in, and then you just lightly crimp onto it, and then go around the cable. So what I'll do is I'll stick it in here about that length. Don't put too much pressure because you don't want to cut the wires inside. So slightly turn the cable, or you could turn the crimping tool just slightly. So when you have enough, all you need to do is pull it and it'll come off. I guess I didn't have it all the way around. So there you have it. I have it stripped. I guess I have it a little long, but like I say, no worries. You can always cut it later. So also this little piece here, I don't know what this little one does. I guess you don't really need it. I'll cut that off. Some of them might not have this. So the next thing you want to do this to both ends of the cable, because you need one on each end for the connectors. And since we're doing a straight through, we will perform this task exactly the same thing on the other side. So what you want to do is look at the diagram that I had before on the top right side, and we'll just follow it. Cable color might not match exactly like the diagram I showed you above over there. They're all the same actually. It's just color coded so that you recognize which line goes where. So if you just let's say for example you don't have the same color, like what above shows brown and you don't have brown, you have purple, you can use purple in place of brown. So and then just go the same, but I think for the most part they're all universal. The colors should all be the same. So what you want to do is you want to separate these. The reason why these are twisted is they're called twisted pair, I believe. They reduce the couplings. This way, I think without it, the data gets corrupted, or maybe it gets missing or something like that. It's been a while since I studied it and I kind of forgot. So you want to straighten them up. That's the first thing you want to do, straighten it up. Make sure it's really straight. This way it'll make things easier for you when you try to align them. So according to the diagram, you have the orange stripe, and then you have the orange, and then you have the green stripe, so orange stripe, orange, green stripe, and then you have the solid blue,
solid blue. And then you have the stripe blue. And then you have the green. And then you have the stripe brown, and then you have the brown. So these are the order. So once you have it, you want to pull it really straight so that you can stick it in the connector. So let me straighten this out. Okay, once you straighten it up, and you make sure you keep in the same order, because once you let go, some of them might switch, so you want to make sure you have it in that order. And what you do is you hold the connector next to it. You want the plastic shielding to go inside a little bit, because if you have it sticking out, it won't look as nice. So you want to measure it to go from here, and then as you can see, that's where you will cut. You will cut right here at the very tip, because the cable goes all the way to the tip right here. So you can make it a little bit short here if you want. So this way you'll make sure that it goes all the way in. And then what you do is you can get your crimping tool, because this one has it, and it cuts straight, or you can get a scissor too. So what I'll do is I'll use this here, and I kind of know approximately where you want to cut it. Now after you cut it, you can see when it goes all the way in, that fits it nicely. So after you cut out, make sure you still have the same order before you stick it in. Orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, and then brown. So what you want to do is there's a little tap here that latches onto the network card. You want it to face this way. Actually it's fine, but you want to be consistent. So you want it to the notch to face down. You want to be consistent, and just slowly stick it in that hole. So make sure the cable doesn't get swapped in there. So while it's in there, you can kind of look inside to make sure you have the cable right. But if there's some part you can't distinguish, you can always rotate it and see if you have the right cable in, because if you swap one of those, it's not going to work. So what you want to do is push in firmly. Once you have it in there firmly, what you want to do is you want to get your crimping tool. Some of them come with the other one. I think it's the RJ21, which is for the phone jack. This one is for the RJ45 for the Ethernet. So the shape is already there. There's a little notch here for the latch. The knot here also. So you want to just stick it in, and make sure you push in this way, and you push it in really firm. So this way you will make sure the cable doesn't slide up when you crimp it. This way you'll make sure that you crimp the cable. So what you do is you want to press down on the crimp. So you want to push down in the crimping tool. So while this is pushed in this way, you will crimp down on the tool, and make sure you crimp real tight. And then after that, you just take it out and slightly pull in it to see if it's tight. And what I like to do, a lot of people don't do this, what I like to do is put a dab of crazy glue. Make sure it doesn't go into where the pin is. I just like to put a dab there so that you don't actually yank it out. Some people don't like to do that because they try to reuse the head. I don't think that's a good idea, because once you crimp the pins and you remove the cable and try to pry it out, it may not look as nice anymore. And this RJ45 head is kind of cheap, so you probably might not want to do that. I'll stop the video here and finish the other side, and I'll show you how to look at it later. Okay, so finally I have the two head RJ45 connected. So what you want to do is you want to be consistent. As you can see, there's that little latch there. I like to use this side, and you want to compare the two. You can look at the diagram above, and you know that since it's the straight through that we're building, they should be exactly identical. If you're gonna build the crossover, it's gonna be swapped on some of the wires over here. So you just look down and make sure they're the same. And afterward, you can probably use a meter to test the connectivity on it. And they have some RJ45 test tools where you can stick it in just like you would stick it in the network card, and it'll test it for you. But if you don't want to spend the money to just on something that you don't use all the time, you could use a voltmeter with a connectivity test, or you could probably measure the resistance and stuff like that. So you don't. It's not too hard to build. So I think a lot of time you really won't screw it up. So you should be fine unless the cable along one end to the other one is broken or something. But I never had a problem building one of these. Okay, there you go, guys. So this is how you build the RJ45 Ethernet cable.